Hi everyone, my name is Peng Zhu. I am a PhD candidate at University of California, Riverside. I'm going to presenting our paper Characterizing Global Transnational Internet Performance and the Great Bottleneck of China. This is a collaboration with University of Michigan and Tsinghua University. Growing up in China, I have been satisfied generally with the internet speed and reliability. We have very much all the services you can find in our domestic network. For example, for Google, we have Baidu. For Facebook, we have WeChat. But since I started to apply for application for US grad schools, I noticed the speed was really slow. Sometimes it was so slow that my submission failed. It occurred to me that I rarely visit foreign websites. But there are services that haven't had a Chinese replica, for example, GitHub or Leaf, and the speed is also very slow. This observation made us wonder if this phenomenon is unique to China. Is this common for most countries? We think this is a rather important question because transnational network performance is an indicator of economic development, infrastructure investment of one country, and it allows the information to flow around the world. We also want to know what we can do to help improve the performance. So our measurement wants to look into traffic flows across national borders or over the world. What is the throughput? How many countries have such slow speed? How often does the slow speed happen? What factors influence transnational performance? Is our first measurement. We have 61 vantage points in 29 countries and regions that covers all 6 continents. For each country, we have 2 vantage points on average. They are either crowd servers or residential hosts provided by volunteers. This figure shows our experiment setup. We host a HTTP server on every cloud server and let them download file from all the cloud servers from other countries. Residential nodes are always behind net, so they only download file from the cloud servers from other countries. Here we call the pair sender and receiver instead of client server to label the direction of data transmission. This arrow means this sender sends data to this receiver. We kept the speed at 4 megabit per second to avoid wasting unnecessary network resources. Here is our result. We named the pair receiver and sender. For example, China other means other are sending data to China, which is the downstream of China. For the rest of this talk, we use China to refer specifically to mainland China. Others refer to all the countries excluding China and African countries. This is a box plot, so the size of the box indicates the variance of the data. In our case, the smaller the box, the more stable the throughput. The horizontal line indicates the median and the dot indicates the mean. As you can see, the boxes of the downstream and upstream of African countries and the downstream of China is very large, and their mean is only around 2.5 megabit per second. Good news is that the box of the rest of the countries is pretty small. This box contains both downstream and upstream, which means for most countries, their traffic around national borders is fairly stable. Although both African countries and China suffer from unstable throughput, their features are different. African countries experience slowdown on both directions, while China, interestingly, only experienced it on one direction, when data was entering China. China's upstream, however, is fast and stable like the rest. Another unique feature of China's transnational network performance is that it has a much clearer diurnal pattern. These 3 figures are the downstream throughput of Nigeria, Egypt, and China with the same sender. In the last figure, Beijing, shortly after 8 a.m., local time every day, the throughput started to dip and stays below 500 kilobit per second. It recovers swiftly at night between 1 and 2 a.m. The transnational network performance in China is intriguing. However, so far our measurement included only a small number of vantage points in China. We are not sure if this observation is a random incident that we happen to capture, which prompt us to perform additional experiments to examine this phenomenon. So our next measurement is about China's transnational throughput. In this section, we try to answer these three questions. First question would be, how widespread is the phenomenon throughout China? Is it happening only in specific location, in specific time? Does a similar slowdown occur for domestic traffic? Does it occur for real-life web servers? Or it is due to some misconfiguration on our servers? To increase the space coverage, we include more vantage points in China to 17. To increase the time coverage, we performed the test for 4 times. This figure shows our end-to-end test setup. Since we only observe slowdown when traffic goes into China, so we make all vantage points outside China as senders and the ones inside China as receivers. In our global measurement, domestic traffic was not measured, so we included here by making the domestic VPS as senders too and let the receivers also download the file from domestic senders. The detail of the setup can be found in our paper. To depict the real-life usage scenario and also eliminate the potential cause by something wrong with our own HTTP servers, we picked the top 14 on-block websites as the senders and keep the receivers in the end-to-end test. 8 of them are foreign and 6 are domestic. We found a sufficient large file on each web page and repeated downloading the file. All receivers resolve the domain names locally. The slowdown is prevalent in every country, every city. Here, the average slowdown hours per receiver aggregated over all its corresponding senders. We will count a time window as a slowdown period when the throughput is lower than 1 megabit per second for more than 10 minutes. Most receivers experience on average 5 to 17 hours of slowdown per day. This figure is sender's average slowdown hour. Hong Kong has the least slowdown hour. The slowdown is happening every day and occur to real-life web servers and users too. Here is the CDF figure of average slowdown hours per day across 5 tests. The purple line is the top Alexa test, and the results are consistent. As you can see, the lines are really close to each other. Roughly 70% of the pairs have a slowdown period of 5 hours or longer. Less than 20% of the pairs have no slowdown. Here is the aggregated number of slowdown hours experienced by all receivers per website. Generally, the magnitude of slowdown is high and comparable to the end-to-end experiment. The reason why Apple has almost no slowdown, it is because it has servers located inside China. In contrast, there's no slowdown in domestic traffic. The domestic domains shows no slowdown at all. These 2 figures also demonstrate how important it is for foreign websites to host their servers physically in China. Now we confirm the existence and prevalence of the slowdown. We want to know more about it. What are the performance characteristics? The first feature is that slowdown follows a specific diurnal pattern. For example, in figure B, the slowdown started early in the morning from 6 a.m., lasting all the way through 3:30 a.m. However, not all slowdowns share only one diurnal pattern. Actually, different location pairs might have different diurnal patterns. For example, Beijing and Sweden might have one pattern, Beijing and Japan might have another. Here, figure A has a different pattern. Another thing that's worth noting is that May 1st and May 2nd are the national holidays in China, and October 1st is the National Day and China's 70th anniversary, which means the slowdown is not affected by the important National Day holidays or weekends. In the end-to-end test, we control both ends, so we capture the raw packet trace to get the loss rate and latency. When we inspect the end-to-end loss rate, we found that most packet losses occur in one direction only, from foreign country entering China. This matches the observation we had in the global test. The average loss rate over an entire day is typically in the range of 5% to 15%. From the end-to-end test, we observed high correlation between low throughput, increased end-to-end loss rate, and increased latency, which is generally in conformity with a normal congestion. The diurnal pattern can also be explained by normal congestion as there is more traffic during the daytime and less at night. However, this is not to rule out the possibility that the congestion can be artificially imposed, for example by lowering the bandwidth. So we try to ascertain whether the observed bottleneck is an artifact of some traffic differentiation policies. For example, is it based on protocols, or packet types, or speed? We performed a number of A/B tests. We found no noticeable differences between all the A/B tests. So far, all the characteristics seem to point to some sort of network congestion. Naturally, the next question is where the bottleneck is. An recent report from Oracle claims China's network is like an intranet. First of all, China disallowed foreign ISPs to operate within the country and only recently lifted the restriction. Also, the report claims that China is connected to the rest of the internet primarily through a limited number of connection points, which are always physically located outside of mainland China. And most traffic passes through United States and Western Europe. Our result shows the bottleneck mostly occurs within China. The detail of how we locate the bottleneck can be found in our paper. We categorize the bottleneck hops into 4 groups. We found that 71% of the cases, the bottleneck hops are located deep in China, which is abnormal because we know the domestic infrastructure can handle the domestic traffic pretty well. There's no slowdown in domestic traffic. However, it failed to handle the smaller transnational traffic. It does not make any sense from the economic perspective as it is much more expensive to construct transnational links such as submarine cables, which are interestingly often not the bottleneck here. Here is a summary of our current findings. The slowdown is prevalent in every city, happening every day, only occurred to transnational traffic, not to domestic traffic. What's more, it has several unique, interesting features. Now we come to the third question. What are the causes? We come up with 2 classes of hypotheses. First, the slowdown can be due to some government regulation, for example, serving the purpose of censorship. Second, the slowdown can be due to financial motivations of the Chinese ISPs attempting to make a profit of international peering. As we covered earlier, there is no sign of traffic differentiation based on protocols, even the ones that can bypass the censorship. As China is known for its advanced censorship capacities, compatibilities, it is natural to suspect it has something to do with the slowdown, especially when the slowdown patterns are so diurnally regular. One possible explanation is that GFW is very sensitive in processing large volume of transnational traffic and can become overwhelmed easily. However, GFW operates as an on-path system which only processes copies of existing packets without the ability to discard packets. In addition, we designed a small experiment to locate the hop with GFW presence using TTL limited props, and then try to match them with the bottleneck hops. We found only 34% of the cases it is matching. Great Canyon, on the other hand, is indeed an in-path system, but we have no evidence of it being repurposed for traffic throttling. In fact, as mentioned, the slowdown characteristics from the previous measurement closely match those in a natural congestion. According to a recent China's official report, China's international submarine cable development still falls behind the world's other major economies. However, this is unlikely to be the primary cause because, as we saw earlier, the bottlenecks are mostly located within China, not on the border. A more plausible reason is financial related. In the early years, Chinese ISPs do not have a good reputation of making international peering easy because they wanted to grow their own transit business and make themselves to be top-tier ISPs. According to the official report, all the three state-owned ISPs have set up a premium transnational network to maximize their profit. For example, here is the screenshot from China's Telecom Global's official website. They offer 4 tiers of services to connect to Chinese users. To verify the existence of tiered services, we found an exotic VPS provider reselling these tiers of network through hosting, and they provide test IPs that allow customers to check the loss rate and latency to these nodes from within China. We found the loss rate does decrease with the tier of network. At the end of the day, we admit this analysis is largely a best effort based on our data, and we believe pinpointing the root cause further would require potential insider knowledge about the government policy and ISP's inner workings. In the future, we are curious to monitor how this situation will evolve over time across the globe. We are interested in studying more countries, for example, Russia and Iran. Here is the takeaway of our today's talk. We discovered China's transnational network suffers from bad performance. The slowdown is prevalent in almost every city, happening every day, only occur to transnational traffic, not to domestic traffic. What's more, it has several interesting unique features. For example, the packet losses only occur in one direction. It has diurnal patterns. Bottleneck is within China in most cases. The slowdown feature resembles natural congestion, and no traffic differentiation was found. However, we don't have a conclusion of the losses of this phenomenon because of lacking direct evidence and insider knowledge. Thank you.